Brandon Sanderfans with Ben and Sam for a special news bulletin episode. I'm Ben with my best friend Sam. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, I was last night. My 2-year-old was sick. He had to go to the ER. He had just been thrown up all night, and then I did some throwing up myself.
Oh, do you think that's related? Maybe a little bit.
You know, the science is out, or the jury's out on science.
Yeah, we don't know if germs can travel
telling.
between one body to another. I mean, it's not like your baby's also human and can have human germs.
Correct.
Baby germs. Babies aren't human until they're like 18 years old. That's why we don't put them in the military until then. Because we can't have babies fighting wars.
They wouldn't know which side they were on. Bullets would be flying everywhere. And they're just so fragile. I mean, you look at a baby and a bruise appears. Your eyes are too powerful. You gotta wait till they're 18 when they're legally a human.
Exactly. It could be dangerous, like that movie Baby Geniuses with the little people that they put baby faces on. You know, it could be scary. They could be extra smart. We don't know. That's why we don't put them in the military or make them secret agents yet until they're 18, until they're actually human beings.
Unless they have, unless they are the child of Arnold Schwarzenegger, because then that'd just be that'd be a super baby. You know what I'm saying? Like it would be born 18 years old, and then you'd have a 1-year-old.
It would definitely be half of a super baby. What's the other half here in that mixing pot where we're throwing some Arnold Schwarzenegger DNA? What else are we throwing in there?
You got to get some brainiacs. So Harold Ramis, very intelligent, a comedian.
Okay.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger does not have that comedic edge, I would argue.
Well, Sam, I wish you could stop being so freaking sexist and add a woman into this pot so we can actually make a baby.
I was getting to that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. George Clooney for some looks.
Sam, again, what? I said put a woman in it. You can't make a baby without a woman.
There's a list. I have a list. It is a very long list. There's a woman on it somewhere.
Well, it's pretty sexist that your list is 3 dudes so far, dude. I mean, we can only have one sperm and one egg.
Well, it's debatable. But, you know, the jury's out on science. Okay, so hold on. Let me look through my list, the big list. Hold on. I got Madame Curie. There we go.
I mean, I guess. Aren't we worried about, like, her junk being irradiated? I mean, she did stir that irradiated pot, like, for 10 years until she died of cancer. Like, I know she discovered X-rays and we'll be forever grateful to Madame Curie, but, like, I'm worried about... I'm worried about our next generation, not like some people in this conversation. I'm worried about what our babies are going to become if they have Arnold Schwarzeneggers. Maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger's strong enough to fight radiation in the womb. I don't know that. Do you know that?
With all the conversations I've had with him, he's never brought it up. I'll have to ask him next time. Let me write a note.
Wait. Sam, this is an easy fix. We just have Iron Man to be the man. So that, like, the iron just protects the baby. Everyone knows that iron stops radiation, so... And Iron Man is just a man made of iron. I've never seen the movie, but I imagine that's what he is.
He's 110% iron. He had a lot of Flintstone vitamins as a kid and slowly became just a big iron deposit. I mean, if we had that Iron Man... is there an Iron Woman character or something of the likeness? A woman
actually
made
there is
of metal?
There's a character they just Iron Man kind of passed the torch to a black woman in the comics recently. So
awesome.
She's technically just Iron Man. Also, Pepper Potts has an Iron Man suit.
That is correct. Pepper Potts. That's not. No. Who is that? That's not Gwyneth Paltrow, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, no.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, you know, I'm glad we were talking about so many topical things like the movie Junior and Madame Curie, because, you know, we got some news that we gotta get through. We have to report on it because there's some happening, some moving and some shaking in the world of Brandon Sanderson, which is what we do. We talk about Brandon Sanderson stuff.
Yeah, and this will be a relatively shorter episode this week, but we'll bring up the next 3 chapters next week. But this article came out 3 or 5 days ago. Once again, it's concerning Branderson's the screen adaptation of his novels, of his Cosmere. And
yes.
As we read before, it was DMG who got the rights to it, who won the rights to it, and who is coming back again. Now, the article is concerning the what some would refer to as an elevator pitch. It is concerning the elevator pitch for the Cosmere series. Now, Ben,
yes,
why don't you hit us up with that first paragraph, and we're going to read it, and we're just going to talk about it. It's really not a long article, guys, so don't be like, ugh, they're reading something. It's super short, and we'll gab. But Ben, hit us up with that first paragraph.
Perfect. Yeah, this is from Variety, and it is an exclusive, so this is all the information we have so far from Brandon himself. But it says, DMG has taken an unusual approach on how it's trying to sell major studios on its planned big screen adaptation for Brandon Sanderson's fantasy novel series, The Cosmere, in quotation marks. The media and entertainment company is spending 7 figures to create a 15-minute virtual reality experience drawn from the Stormlight Archive, one of the books in the series. So right there, they're spending at least $1 billion. That's what 7 figures means. They're spending $4 trillion to make a 15-minute virtual reality experience from the Stormlight Archive, which is pretty cool. You know, Stormlight Archive, one of my favorite books, especially visually. You know, the things that they could do in VR to, like, hey, step in this world and kind of visualize things for you know, perspective studio makers. It's pretty interesting.
Now, my only worry is, now this is a personal worry. I have what some would call a bad inner ear. I get motion sick if I turn too quickly or if I look the wrong direction at any point of the day. I get car sick in cars. I get car sick on roller coasters. I get car sick in boats, airplanes, bicycles, swings. That's not a joke. I loved the swings in elementary school, but if I rode them too long or if I swung on them too long, I got motion sick like crazy. And so virtual reality would not, if I was one of the producers or one of the people to which they were pitching or to whom they were pitching this idea, and they said, okay, put on this VR headset, I would say, just describe it to me. Just walk me through it. Because I wouldn't survive.
I understand that. I think a lot of these virtual reality experiences are a lot different than virtual reality games. I've been through both virtual reality experiences and virtual reality games. The difference really being, one, you're just kind of sitting there and things are happening and you get to choose where you want to look and what's taking place. And the other is you're actively taking part, like you're in this virtual space. So that's a big difference. Like if you've ever seen like 360 video, like on YouTube or any other internet service where you can take your phone and you can just move it around and it kind of shows you the 360 view. That's kind of what a VR experience is like, except with the lenses, it gives you the 3D effect of the depth of field and everything.
And I do appreciate those kind of things, especially like when The Conjuring 2 came out. There was a Facebook like it was the whole turn your phone around and see what Lorraine Warren's seeing in this hallway and so on, and it was really, really cool. But even just sitting there turning my phone around, I got car sick, I got motion sick. And so a virtual reality experience, I do understand the differences. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't want to be like, all right, producers, here are your wands, and you are going to have to carry this bridge. So you're going to have to kind of run in place and make sure that your wands are always up, which would be also very exciting. But the virtual reality experience can have its negative effects on me. I do think it's very different, and I think that's what they want to go for, because Brandon Sanderson, although it is a fantasy novel and different magic types and different worlds exist, and all these hundreds of, if not thousands of different writers have different concepts, but he's so unique in his writing he's so unique in the systems he creates and the worlds he creates that there had to be a unique way to bring it up. And so it is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And you know, it's a cool idea. I think that it's going to grab the attention, and definitely the distributors are going to remember these things. It's also at least for my money, it's better than proof of concept in the form of like art assets, digital assets, and like seeing how a rock bud would actually look in the movie, seeing how the chasms and the alien life in those chasms and the storm wall and things like that. That's going to inspire more than just like, hey, this is some deviant art that we got online. And it's very good. These are very good artists, but the thing is, that is art. Movies are movies, and with movies becoming more and more of like a digital creation platform, with like digital cameras becoming better than ever. Like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 has like the most expensive digital camera, like the most advanced digital camera, and it looks like freaking amazing, fantastic. And this coming from a guy that saw Hateful Eight in 70mm, which was beautiful. Until like I almost had a seizure because I'm not used to like the film literally going through and like making black spots every like 40 times a second. This kind of appeals to me, and I'm thinking like I'm a studio executive. I probably don't have a huge issue with VR. In fact, I'm probably really interested in the possibilities of using VR in the future. And here is someone that's bringing a new IP. It interests me, and it's bringing it in a VR scope. So I'm thinking, well, if we get rights to this to make a movie, where does that end? Can we make a TV series? Can we make video games? Can we make VR movies if those are going to be a thing in the future? VR experiences. There are experiences like this where people sell them like for movie prices, and people buy them because they want to experience virtual reality more.
Absolutely. And I think with DMG, we talked about this with our first new Brandon Sander News episode, that DMG is it's a Chinese company. Is that right? Yeah, it's a Chinese company. And for them to spend as much money as they are to do this, and with the ingenuity, or at least the with the ingenuity of all their creators and their engineers and whatnot, it's not going to be. I have to take this out of my mind, but it's not going to be some like campy garbage. Everyone is like block characters. They're putting a lot of money for this 15-minute virtual reality experience to convince very important and very important people that will be able to pour a lot of money into it to be able to realize such incredible concepts on screen. And so I don't know if they'd ever release the 15-minute footage. It might be like a special feature on one of the Blu-rays or the holograms. I don't know how far the future is going to happen, but there might be holograms. Who knows?
Maybe.
Let's see. Moving on to the next paragraph, unless we already know it into it yet. So, typically a studio pitch consists of a screenwriter talking up their plans for a particular film while deploying the most evocative language at their disposal. Sometimes these meetings won't relay simply on words. There can be visual props such as storyboards or concept art, deviant art, if you will. Producers may even cobble together a sizzle reel consisting of pre-existing footage from other films in order to give backers a sense of how the money will be spent. But virtual reality seems novel.
You can find something like this for Way of Kings, like on YouTube. Fans make this stuff all the time. They make sizzle reels, so you can see like, I think that it should have this from this movie. And it's always the orc scene from the Two Towers where the orcs are attacking. Like, this is pretty much exactly what it would be like. I'm like, no, it wouldn't. That's what the Two Towers is like. Everyone knows that scene. You cannot remake that. But anyway, sorry.
The virtual is a sign of the interest that interactive content is drawing from a movie business trying to figure out new ways to engage audiences, market films, and now secure green lights. And like Ben said, this will open up a world to possibly TV shows or just a bunch of different potential projects that could come from this new idea, or at least from this the experience that they have while checking out this VR.
In the next paragraph here, there's a lot on the line and good reason for DMG to spend this kind of cash early in the film's development. The company didn't just acquire one of Sanderson's novels, they bought the entire Cosmere universe, a vast group of interconnected sci-fi and fantasy stories. It hopes not only to make movies, but also television shows, games, and other types of content. So, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
I for one, there were those rumors years back, and I think the game fell by the wayside of a Mistborn video game that was going to be like it was going to be in the time period of when the Lord Ruler was rising. And so it was going to be a completely different time period. Apparently, Allomancy was going to be a bit different in that time period as well as Furukami. So there's a lot of things about it that was interesting, but it apparently never took off. They were developing for PS3, and then they moved to develop for PS4, and then it just kind of fell away. I'd have to do some more research for that, but so anyway, it would be interesting to see. This is what a Way of Kings game would be like. This is what we're going to do a Telltale series of Mistborn.
Oh, wow.
That'd be cool. Anyway, DMG is committed to spending $270 million. Yeah, that's what they decided to spend. So they're spending just $1 million, pretty much, or a couple million on this VR of their budget. But they're committed to spending much more. And going for distribution means basically they're trying to make partners so that they can also spend money to make the movie bigger and better.
Now, this I did read the article before. At least I skimmed through it. But going on to the next paragraph, DMG is 2 months into production on the virtual reality experience. I had no idea they had already started. I mean, obviously it's pre-production on, it's like pre-production. But the fact that they've already started and they've poured so much money into it, it's gotta be looking good.
Yeah.
Initially, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, Sanderson's even seen it. He's seen, the work in progress so far. So he'd seen one of the virtual reality experiences and had been impressed by how they adapted the fantastical worlds to what he created on the page. He says, it's amazing. You see all these storms and fighting and canyons filled with alien life. So he's seen it, and it sounds great. It sounds like just what you'd want. Sanderson he's pretty good at letting... He will take control of the book, but he wants the movie people to take care of the movies. He is under no suspicions that he can make a better movie than actual filmmakers, which is great. Stephen King made some movies back in the day, and we talk about those ones all the time. The Academy Award winners, right?
Yep.
Maximum Overdrive, everyone loved that one. Do you know he said that if you watch Maximum Overdrive, in the credits it says co-producer, cocaine.
No, my God. You gotta be kidding me.
I am kidding, of course, Sam.
I really wanted that to be true. Well,
but Stephen King did do a lot of cocaine in those days.
Right, and the story of The Shining is basically everything that the main character went through. The Shining is essentially a novelization of his withdrawals and rehabilitation from cocaine usage.
Yeah.
But that's on our other podcast. Stephen King's Sam and Ben talk about Stephen King.
The Stephen King cast.
The Stephen King cast, yeah. Now Ben and I have talked about us. We went to a book signing where he talked about, I think it was Steelheart that had been bought up by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But then
Steelheart is not a Cosmere book, so
right.
it's separate from this deal that he made here. The Steelheart book is apparently in pre-production, and the director of Real Steel was signed on to make it. But it's most directors have 4 or 5 projects that they're working on at any time, and they're just kind of looking for which one is gonna be the hit.
And
I think Steelheart could be good. I think that they're a little bit burned out by how the Maze Runner movies are doing, as well as Allegiant and those teen-oriented movies. I think this one would work though because it has superheroes in it, but the main character's not a superhero, and it's kind of a dystopian thing, but it's a lot more lighthearted. It's not dour like those other movies really are. So moving on here, when DMG signed its deal with Sanderson, it likened acquiring the Cosmere books as buying up a comic book universe. Sanderson books unfold in a number of different worlds and different time periods, but are unified by an intricate system of magic that drives the plots. His literary works have sold some 15 million copies, and he has an intense social media following. Intense, Sam. We're intense.
We're very intense. I mean, we're a part of that following. We are
Yeah.
I would argue that we are some of the what's like the guys behind the front runners. Or those
The second runners.
The second the mid runners maybe.
Yeah.
The penultimate runners.
What about the guys? What's the guy that's slower than Usain Bolt? Oh, no one knows. No one knows who that guy is.
It's
Sam, name me a bicyclist that's not Lance Armstrong, please.
It's easy, Ben. Lance Armstrong. The second.
Yep, the second, his son. Sam, I know for a fact you can't have kids.
Oh no.
Okay,
hold on. What about
yeah?
Who's a really good basketball player? I can name a second to that really good basketball player.
Really good basketball player.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's make this a little more interesting, Sam.
Okay. All right.
Who is the best golfer other than Michael Jordan in Space Jam?
That would be Bill Murray in Space Jam.
You're right. Bill Murray, he'll do anything. He'll do anything unless he doesn't want to do it. Then he won't do it at all.
We could all learn from Bill Murray.
Well, Wayne Knight, wonderful. Let me see here. I just want to go through and get through the rest of the article here, because I know we're kind of on a timer with whether or not your baby's going to explode. Not actually explode, but just barf explode.
Double dragon. They'll double dragon at any given moment. So I have a double dragon alarm.
It's separate from your baby alarm. It just flashes red and it says evacuate the home. Just leave. Pack your bags and move.
Now, I'd like to read a paragraph. Skipping a little ahead. Ben mentioned that Brandon Sanderson, he'll be on the set as an observer. He's not going to be the one directing or produce. I'm sure he's part of producing credit. But in this third to last paragraph, he says, "I knew early on that I didn't want to write the screenplays," said Sanderson. "Me writing screenplays would be like Michael Jordan playing baseball." How did you read ahead and bring up Space Jam because of that?
Shade!
Or did you
That's some shade! Throwing some hard shade there, man.
But then he says, "I'd do okay, and maybe get into the minors, but I'd rather focus on what I do best," which for Brandon Sanderson, it's writing, making magic systems, and playing baseball. That's what I got from that paragraph.
They do talk about some other things that DMG has gotten into. They nabbed up Ken Liu's Grace of Kings trilogy, which I haven't read, but maybe I'll pick that up as well. I usually like to read any fantasy books that get made into movies. I like to read. And he does have some other standalone projects, which The Reckoners is at Fox.
Woo!
And Snapshot. Actually, MGM owns Snapshot, and I think they were looking at making a TV series out of Snapshot, which was just a short story that he released earlier this year.
I was gonna say I don't think I remember Snapshot. Is that in the? No, that's not in the Cosmere collection.
No, it's not a Cosmere book. Essentially, Snapshot there is a certain technology or magic that's in place where this city can recreate a day in a virtual simulation. So real people can go into the simulation and they can relive a day that's already passed and then go and do things that and find out things. So it follows these detectives that work in the Snapshot program. They get the notice to go and look for a gun that was dumped or try to figure out who started this domestic dispute. So they go and they scope it out and they try to figure out and get some information so that then they can testify at the hearing and they can get another side to the story. But there is some things like they can. they can introduce like a level of unreliability into the simulation. So it's like the butterfly effect. If they change too much, then the simulation isn't accurate. So they have to be careful with what they do and what they affect. So it's a pretty
That's
good
cool.
story. It's a good premise. The story itself, I don't think, is what they would be making into a TV show. They would just be taking the premise and running with it, because the story
Oh,
itself is
absolutely.
pretty well contained, and some of the characters cannot go on past that. So. One thing
That's really cool.
I didn't want to go over, because whenever, if you've been a Brandon Sanderson fan for a while, then we've kind of been through the ringer. We have seen these movie deals come and go. We've seen that video game come and be postponed and then canceled that everyone was
Hmm.
really excited about. So it kind of takes a lot of faith to think that anything's going to come out of this. The good thing is, like, any company, whenever they put money into something, that's when they're really invested, for lack of a better word. But Sanderson, he has a quote in here that I really like about DMG and kind of how they courted him. He shares a little bit. He says, "I thought maybe they'd want to option one book or one story, but then they came and told me they'd dug into everything I'd ever published. It stopped me in my tracks. They'd read my whole canon. Nobody had ever done that before." So that gives me hope that the people that were courting to get Brandon Sanderson's books completely see the vision of these books being in the theaters, so everyone can see them, and it'll bring more people back to the series itself. I do have a little bit of a concern, like the Game of Thrones thing. Like, Brandon Sanderson, one of his greatest book series so far is, without a doubt for me, the Stormlight Archive. But he, at the end of
Absolutely.
this year, will only have 3 books out of a 10-book series. A 10-book series that's going to be made into 2 5-book arcs. So I don't want him to feel pressure, I guess, like, to try to reveal the story. And also, I'd rather read the story first and then see it on the big screen. So
I totally get that, and I mean, with such a large undertaking, who knows what will happen either with the movies. I mean, the movies might totally fall flat, and then we'll still have the books,
yeah, of
but
course.
that so much more could have come from it. But at the same time, there's no way they can wait for him to finish 7 more books, and if they
Yeah.
do, then they're it's ridiculous. But well,
Like, I feel like a lot of people that are concerned about movies or TV shows about the books they love is that they're going to change things or be different in any way. These can be completely. They could release a Stormlight Archive movie tomorrow that I think is total garbage and nothing like The Way of Kings that I know.
yeah,
And but let's say, like, all the critics love it and it makes it $1 billion and they keep on making those. I will still always have the book The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance and Oathbringer and all the rest of the books that Brandon's going to write. And it's not going to change that the books are going to be amazing for me.
that's true. Absolutely.
If anything, it's only going to give Brandon Sanderson more freedom, because he'll have the confidence that they're doing their own thing. He won't have to worry about it. He won't have to worry about money ever again, because he'll be raking in those residual checks. I mean,
Oh
not that he
man,
has to worry about
oh
money
yeah.
now. I don't think that if he never sold another book, I think he'd be good. Uh, to
Seriously.
write.
But with a billion monies in his pocket, he could do a bunch of stuff with that, like retire and buy the world. I mean, not the world, but he could buy an entire country.
I don't know. Brandon may be the type of writer that will retire someday, but I don't think it's going to be any time before he's done with what he wants to do. And I don't think
Yeah.
he's even close.
Oh yeah. I mean, and with the ideas that keep popping into his head, he's just gonna be like, "All right, I'm 98 years old. With all the money I have, I've been granted immortality. I'm going to
That's
keep
how it
writing."
is. It's like that's why DuckTales was on for so long, and they're gonna redo DuckTales because Scrooge McDuck, he's so rich he can't die. What else is he gonna do with his life? He's like
He
a dragon.
literally cannot die.
All he has to do is hoard more money, and he'll just become more and more immortal. Sam,
Oh,
Sam,
man.
let's do a magic system based off of that. Let's do money magic.
Okay.
Money magic.
Um,
So, the amount of wealth you have, does that affect you, or maybe the lack of wealth that you have? Maybe the more austere your life is, the more powerful you are. Maybe wealth weighs you down. That
You
could
know,
be
I think
cool.
it's a world that's split by hemispheres. I mean, not like our world, but on one part of the world, it's that when people who have, not as much money, people who have less money, they're the ones who are, the best looking. They are the strongest. They
Uh-huh.
are the most respected. And the people who have tons of money, like they just have way too much money, they're disregarded. Nobody likes them. I'm not going to say that they're uggos, but they're undesirable is what I'm going to say. But
Well,
on the
Sam,
other side of the world, go ahead.
you say that, but that may have unintended consequences. So, like, genetically and according to Darwinian theory and things like that, mates will always seek out mates that will be better for their children. It will in this world still be better for your children to be raised in a wealthy place or in a poor place. So maybe the sense of what is attractive and what is ugly changes there, because literally the more money you have and the more secure you can keep your family, the like physically more deformed you become, or like not deformed but just unattractive you become. So then women are like, oh man, I love his jowls, and I love how
Oh
his
no.
hair, I love how his hair thins, and I love how his mustache just droops all the way down to his belly. This is the most
Oh
attractive
no.
man I've ever seen, and I gotta be with him. And meanwhile, there's handsome McHunkface right there that's totally friend zoned because he's got nothing to his name, but he's got like perfect abs. He's like a perfect 10, toe to tip. This is a good looking boy. And she's like, no, but that one, I want that one, please. Yes.
Money, mustache, belly, ill-fitting clothes. Yes, please. I think that's, what this magic system is. I think it might be offensive to some people, because some people they chase that paper, and
Yeah.
they're gonna think that if they chase that paper, they're gonna. But you know what? This might actually lead to a lot of people just donating so much money because they wanna keep that attractiveness, or
Dude,
the attractiveness they think they have.
that could be it. So, like, the more people are selfless and giving to others, the more physically attractive they become, but then they could be taken advantage of, too. So, let's say, like, there is a strong coalition of these really handsome people, women, men, children that are all growing together, and they all share everything they have. So no one has anything more than the other. They all have very little, but they all have like pretty much an unlimited amount of supplies because the funds they do have go directly into that. So they're all well fed and everything. And now this civilization is, maybe being under attack from the richer civilization that wants to remove, this sense of austerity. They want to make those haves and have-nots again, whereas this civilization makes it kind of like an even sort of regime. I know that seems kind of like
I think
socialist. This is a lot more voluntary than that, though. I think.
absolutely, and it's like there was one time we were hanging out at your house, and it's a game where you pull out different cards, and then it's supposed to be like it's supposed to start discussions and philosophical debates and whatnot. But the question
Oh,
was
it's
if
the Ungame.
yeah. I've been looking for. I didn't even think of the title, and I've been looking for it. But one of the questions was if you could pay $1 and be just a little more attractive, how much would you pay? And some people were like, well, I'd just do $1, or I'd do nothing because I'm very happy with how I look. And I was like, I would put $1,500 into this system, and I would look like a Greek god of attractiveness. It would be almost disgusting how attractive I would be. So that could maybe it's a maybe you could put money into different things. Like you could put money into more attractiveness, or you could put money into being more desirable, maybe. Not
So,
necessarily
so
more
money
attractive,
just
but
becomes like a video game with skill points. You just dump your skills where you
yes.
want where you want to level up the most. Like
I'm gonna put mine
I'd
into
like more
charisma.
I'd like more physical power, and I'd like more intimidation, please. And
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna put 8 cents into skullduggery just to see what happens. And you come home and you're like, oh yeah, I do feel a little more enhanced, but you also pocket something without knowing it. You're like, oh, I'm just a kleptomaniac now, I guess.
I'll put $15 into kleptomanianism? I don't know what the word is. Into thieving. Kleptomania. There we go. This would be a pretty good system. So, hey.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna say, Mr. Sanderson, you're making your way downtown, walking fast, faces past,
and you're
homebound. And you're homebound to make movies, or to be a part of the movies, and you're gonna have a lot of time to write. But we just want to help you out, so please take that magic system. That is all yours. Take it off our hands. We don't need it.
Yeah, it's completely free of charge to you, so that you can continue to make good books. I know you got all the money you need. This, maybe this is real life. Maybe the more money you give to people that do Brandon Sanderson podcasts, the more attractive you become. I don't know. You'll never know if you don't try.
At Samuel_Loose on Twitter. You can also DM me or find me on Facebook.
Yeah, my PayPal instructions are very easy to get as long as you just ask me.
Well, you get your
I would accept just an official endorsement on your Twitter.
Ooh, I would take that too. I would absolutely take that.
I would take.
Hey,
that.
How do we get verified? We should get verified.
Oh yeah, maybe we should get more than 10 followers. Maybe we'll get verified then, Sam. Maybe you use your brain next time.
Maybe we shouldn't be our own followers either. Maybe we should have other people follow us.
Well, this has been a great episode. I'm really happy.
Tell people to follow us. Tell people to follow us. Listen to our podcast.
Yes, Brandon, because I know that you're listening to this one. I think this is really, really cool. I think with all that I have, there's going to be an opportunity for some hardcore fans to be able to see this VR experience eventually. Whether it's they take it to Comic-Con and you'll be able to see it, whether it's going to be on his... he has a newsletter where he sends exclusive stuff to, and maybe he'll send a YouTube video where it's a 360 video where you'll be able to experience the VR experience and stuff. I think that eventually we're going to see this, but it's probably going to be several years down the line, maybe 4 or 5 years. Yeah. That I would think that we'd see something like this. Unless they're so excited, it could be like a Deadpool thing. Deadpool was not going to be a movie until they released that teaser footage from Comic-Con.
Oh yeah.
And they quote unquote leaked it, but literally they just let it out so that everyone could freak out about it. It could build so much buzz that they'd have to make it, or else they'd just basically be leaving money on the table. So
absolutely, yeah.
So maybe something similar here. If it doesn't get any bites, you release it to us, you get that buzz going, and maybe we can see what's going on.
Yeah, there's lots of news to cover, and we'll keep covering it. Next week we'll get back with our chapters. And as always, follow us on Twitter, follow us on our Facebook page, leave likes, leave comments, tell us what we can do better, tell us what we could do worse. Maybe we're too good at something. You guys gotta let us know.
Yeah, we're too good. Alright, well, we love you guys, thank you so much for listening in, and as always, read a book.
Read a book.